Originally, the intro for this video was going to be a lot different, but Gearbox released a patch which fixed a lot of the bug fixes plaguing Seekers of the Storm. Thank you, Gearbox. Thank you for all the hard work that you're doing. Keep up the great work. With the release of Seekers of the Storm, I have been doing quite a bit of runs, and have noticed something rather shocking. Most of the items kind of suck. Ignoring the bugs, a lot of them lack any sort of synergy with other items, but you probably already knew that. So in this video, I want to propose some ways on how these items, just with a little bit of change, can make them either fun or at least situationally good. My goal is to keep the original idea for the item intact, but to improve its use case scenarios. If I don't cover an item you think should be changed, I didn't have an idea for it, so please help me out, comment down below. I'm not the best at balancing, so if you have a problem, that's okay. Just keep it civil, and we'll have a conversation in the comment section down below. With all that being said, let's get into the first item. The first item we'll be talking about is the Knockback Thin. This has a 7.5% chance on hit to knock enemies into the air. The height increases per stack. But the problem with this item is, generally speaking, there's not many instances in this game where you would want the enemies just to fly upwards. Sure, you'll knock the enemy so high that they'll take a little bit of fall damage when they fall down, but getting to that point, generally speaking, is a little unfeasible. Sure, when you get there, it can do some damage, but you'd be better off with really any other damage item in the game. This one is way too situational for its own good. Feels a little more like a gimmick than an actual item. So, what if we made that gimmick actually be a little effective? Taking a page out of Team Fortress 2, there's this little weapon called the Reserve Shooter. It's a shotgun that deals additional damage to enemies that are airborne, more specifically, ones that got launched up by a rocket launcher. This weapon creates a sense of excitement when you see your opponents in the air, knowing that you'll be able to do additional damage to them, and it feels very satisfying to combo them, which I believe would be a very great fit for this item, and what I would imagine what the devs wanted you to do anyway. So, this seems like a very simple fix. The Chronic expansion is a very interesting damage item. For every 5 enemies slain, grants a damage counter bonus, increasing the player's damage by 10%, plus 5% per item stack, lasting as long as the player stays within combat. Now, for the Chronic expansion, how staying in combat works is if you are dealing damage or if you're taking damage, which in Risk of Rain 2 does happen a fair bit because combat encounters are very often. But for me at least, I find myself just barely messing up and losing that damage stack bonus. If I just had a little extra time, I'd be able to use the Chronic expansion a lot better, which I believe with my buff, I would just give it 0.5 seconds additional time per stack. If you had 10 Chronic expansions, you would have 5 additional seconds. So you would have 10 total seconds with the stack. And on top of that, you would have the extra damage per stack too, which means a lot of damage, and it's very easy to maintain. Plus, I don't really think you need to touch the damage values at all because it already has good synergy with Forgive Me Please. And if you can keep the stack going, it'll be very easy to snowball this item. This item's already pretty decent. I believe this would make it even better and a good contender against the Watch. So far, these items haven't been too different from how their original forms are, but you've played the DLC, or at least I'm assuming you have, or at least you know about one particular item. Look, it's in the common family of items here. Alright, so if you didn't know already, the Antler Shield has a 55% plus 5% per stack chance on being hit to reflect 10% plus 10% per stack damage back to the attacker. Now, that's a lot of numbers, but in short, it has a percent chance base of proccing and dealing a small amount of damage of what's already a small amount of damage that the enemy does to you, back onto them. Now, in my personal opinion, and I would probably think that a lot of people do agree, that this is probably one of the worst items that has been added in this DLC. This item does effectively nothing for you. The last thing you want to do in this game is to take damage. And this isn't even like razor wire. You can where that you can at least do area of effect damage to multiple enemies. This is just back at one enemy for a small amount of damage that they deal to you, which in itself is a problem. So I have two ways of going around fixing this, one of them being a small buff and the other one being a total item rework. So we'll just get into the small change first. Now this first change actually comes from a mod called Storm Item Buffs, which is by Wolfo. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. It's a good mod, you should go check it out. But what it does is increase armor by 7 plus 7% per stack, and on being hit, reflect 100% damage plus 100 per stack back onto the enemy. Which I do gotta say fixes the item, but here's my take on the Antler Shield. Just as a fair warning though, I actually do like the previous change a lot better, but anyway, here we are. On hit, mark the enemy that damaged you. Marked enemies take 20% more damage. This effect has a cooldown of 10 seconds. Every additional item increases how many instances of this effect the player has. So with this reimagined version of the antlers, I wanted a, oh shoot, I just got hit by this guy. Let's quickly target him and get rid of him. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I kind of struggled with this item. If you have any better reworks in mind, comment down below. I'll be sure to respond with whatever takes you have. I am very interested to hear. These next few changes I have are relatively quick and don't change the items too much. So starting off, the Warped Echo. This item, if you exclude any of the bugs, this item is actually pretty nice. If you remove any of the bugs that it has, it actually does a pretty good job at saving you in times that you don't really expect it to. And I think a lot of people kind of have a negative stigma towards it purely because of the bugs and if it does or doesn't actually deal double the damage to you, because it seems very weird and hard to replicate, at least on my end. But if it actually showed you how much health was being taken on the next hit, it would actually help you a lot. And that's the only change I have for the Warped Echo. Other than that, pretty solid item. And it also synergizes with Medkit, which I do think is really awesome. Now, the Bolstering Lantern is a really nice item if it wasn't for its condition being below 50% health. Not a lot of times where you're below 50% health, and even if you are, it's not a big enough damage bonus to build into, and it's kind of hard to stay under that threshold to do that damage. So I think instead of being below 50%, it should just be like if you have full health or something, then you deal the additional damage. Albeit less damage than 20%, maybe like a 10% per stack sort of thing. It doesn't have to be too big of a change, but I think having the lantern be something that benefits a full health player is far better than sometimes helping you out when you're low on health. Now, for most of the uncommons, they're actually pretty good, but some of them still need a little work. For example, the Noxious Thorn. This item has a 25% chance on being hit to inflict nearby enemies with 2 plus 1 per stack stacks of bleed. If enemies are already inflicted with 1 or more stackable debuffs, add 1 plus 1 per stack to those debuffs instead. Ooh, that is another item that has a lot of stats going for it. But in short, if the enemy doesn't have any sort of debuffs on them, you stack 2 stacks of bleed with a 25% chance of that happening. So it goes without saying, this too is also a pretty bad item in a similar boat to the antlers. Now, for this item change, one of my good friends actually suggested something, just having it be a 100% chance of it inflicting its bleed or stackable debuffs. That's it, really. I mean, it's still not that good of an item, but it makes it better than what it is now. And plus, with a Hellfire Tincture build, you can do some pretty nasty stuff with it. Now, the Prayer Beads are a really cool item, since the strength of the item is actually when you scrap it instead of when you hold on to it. See, the item stores a little bit of your XP stats, and when you scrap it, that's when you get the stats. The only problem I have with this item is that it is extremely hard to gauge what the item is actually doing once you scrap it. Just have some sort of visual indicator to the player. Hey, you have this many extra stats from scrapping it. And then this item would be really cool. This item only is bad because I don't know what it's doing. The unstable transmitter. Honestly, what a huge letdown. This item, at least to me, is one of the coolest looking items within the game. So seeing it have a lame kind of effect kind of disappointed me. But alas, keeping in the spirit of the video, gotta keep its rework very similar. Which honestly, not even a rework, just a slight stat increase. Have it so on the first stack of this item, whenever you teleport, just get like 1 to 2 seconds of invulnerability when you teleport. That way you don't teleport and then just instantly die. I cannot tell you how many times I've died because I've been teleported away and then just instantly died to something because I didn't know where I was. So having a invulnerability period would be great. That's all this item really needs. And that was all the green items I wanted to talk about. Not too many that are bad. Now, for the reds. I'm only going to talk about one because honestly, most of the reds are kind of fine. But, alas, we have probably what is the worst red in the game. War Bonds. Ooh, what a fun item. What this item does is yield 75 gold, plus 25 gold per item stack, based on current difficulty level and the survivor's level at the start of every stage. What this effectively does is give you, or it's supposed to give you, around 3 chests worth of gold, which sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, other times it's just bugged. Reading off the wiki here, that's what it's saying. Bugs aside, this kind of doesn't really fulfill it. So just to make it a fun sort of fix, instead of giving you gold, it would just let you get 3 free interactables. That means the chance shrine, any size chest, equipment barrel, you want it, it's yours, my friend, as long as you have enough war bonds. Now, what this does is creates a sense of excitement for the player that they can choose 3 free things. This obviously synergizes with the sales star, so you'll just run through the stage and finding a large chest and get it for free. A free legendary chest. This feels like what a red item is supposed to do, instead of just being a glorified Gore's Tome. And yes, each stack would just give +1 free interactable. And there we have it. The rest of the items are fine, or I didn't have an idea for them. So that's all the items in this DLC. Now, when creating this video, it sort of became a mad dash to make sure I released it on time because Gearbox decided to work really fast with their patches and me working slow on this video to where... So let's play a game. How many of these did I get right? Just as a curious thing, because I won't know until after this video is uploaded. Now, I hope you enjoyed my changes, and if you didn't, that's totally okay, like I've said numerous times in this video. But if you found this at all entertaining, please hit that subscribe button for more Risk of Rain content and just general talking points with video games, balance, and the thought process behind them, because that's what I'm passionate about. And if you're passionate about it too, like the video. Sorry, I'm doing the YouTuber thing. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye. Wait, no, that. And I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.